Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacklit Educational Channel. So in the last video of TNPCB interview round, we have discussed about the basic questions which can come from the TNPCB related question. So those who haven't checked, you can check the link given in the description below. And today we are going to discuss the scientific questions which can they ask for the environmental scientist as well as the assistant engineers. So it will be very helpful for you. We will include the laboratory questions which they can ask along with the current affairs. So let's start today's video. First we will see the major 3 gas leaks in 2020. The first we will discuss about Visakhapatnam gas leak, which is also referred to Vizag gas leak, which occurred at the LG Polymers chemical plants. You should note it down, take out your pen and paper and write all the important points. So it took place on 7th May 2020 and you have to remember the gas which was leaked was styrene gas. You should remember the gas, styrene gas for Visakhapatnam gas leak. Next, coming to the 2020 second leak was in Assam in the Oil India's Limited Bagjan oil field in Tinsukia district of Assam. So it took place on 27th of May 2020 and the leak of gas which was seen was of natural gas. So natural gas leaked and due to the leak of natural gas many lives were also affected. Third, coming from the international level, that was on 4th August 2020, ammonium nitrate, you should remember ammonium nitrate stored at the port city of Beirut, that is the capital of Lebanon, exploded causing 204 deaths and 6,500 injuries. So here you should remember ammonium nitrate. Let's move on to the next slide. Next important things is for the ban on 7 hazardous chemical that was ratified by the government of India. So this ban on 7 hazardous chemicals ratified which were listed as POPs, that means persistent organic pollutants under the Stockholm Convention, these were ratified by government of India. So these 7 chemical name you should remember: number 1 chlordecone, hexabromobiphenyl, hexabromodiphenyl ether, heptabromodiphenyl ether, that is commercial octa BDE, tetrabromodiphenyl ether and pentabromodiphenyl ether that are coming in the fourth number combinedly, which are called as commercial penta BDE. Next, fifth number is pentachlorobenzene and in sixth it is hexabromоcyclododecane. Seventh number is hexachlorobutadiene. So these 7 chemicals are very important because they were banned in 2020 and ratified by government of India. So as we discussed about the persistent organic pollutants which were ratified by the government of India in 2020, so here we will discuss about criteria air pollutants. So these are also important because Environmental Protection Agency uses 6 criteria pollutants as the indicators of air quality. So air quality is monitored based on these 6 important criteria air pollutants. So these are sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, lead and particulate matter, that is PM10 and PM2.5, along with ozone, that is ground level ozone. So these are also important. Kindly note it down. Now we will discuss some of the questions which came in the entrance exam. Yes, because some of the questions can be repeatedly asked in your interview round from the questions which came in the written round. So here the question was, one of the question was, what is spring bloom related question. So spring bloom is a strong increase in phytoplankton. They are the producers in the ocean and the water bodies that typically occurs in the early spring and last until late spring or early summer. So why this takes place? This takes place because in the spring more light is available for the stratification column as well as the increase in temperature favors the surface water, that is the thermal stratification takes place. As a result, the phytoplanktons grow vigorously, which leads to the growth of the phytoplankton along with the nutrient is possibly having the concentration increase due to the light and the temperature. So that's why rapid phytoplankton growth is seen, which is known as spring bloom. Next question was that what is the BOD maximum when it is seen. So BOD, that is biochemical oxygen demand. The options were 2 days, 3 days, 4 days or 5 days. So here the correct option will be 5 days. The BOD is maximum. So similarly, if you can recall all the questions, some of the questions which came in your exam, so you can also note down all the answer and try to find what are the correct answer for them. Next important thing is the drinking water parameter. Yes, the drinking water parameter given by the BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standard, is important. First of all, we'll discuss about the physical parameters and what are their limits. So color is used and their unit is Hazen units, and for acceptable limit of drinking water the Hazen unit is 5 and permissible limit is 15. Similarly, the pH value should be between 6.5 to 8.5 for the drinking water as per the BIS parameter. And turbidity question was also asked. So turbidity is measured in NTU as well as FNU. So NTU is nephelometric turbidity unit, you should note it down. FNU is Formazin nephelometric unit. So these three are turbidity unit, and the required, that is acceptable limit of turbidity unit is 1 for drinking water, and for the permissible limit it is 5. Similarly, we should know what is the total dissolved solids limit for the drinking water. 500 is the acceptable limit, that is 500 milligram per liter TDS, and 2000 milligram per liter is the permissible limit. So these are the physical parameters. Now we will see the chemical parameters, and it was that IS 10500:2012. You should download the BIS limit for drinking water, it is very important, and you should note and remember some of the important things, such as this: for sulfate the acceptable limit is 200 milligram per liter, and for the sulfate the permissible limit is 400 milligram per liter. Similarly, total alkalinity as calcium carbonate is 200, that is acceptable limit. 600 is the permissible limit. So you should remember all these things which are important. I will take you to the other slide where it is taking, and you should know about the chloride also. It is one of the frequently asked. For chloride, 250 is the acceptable limit, 1000 is the permissible limit. So I'm repeating you, download this BIS norms for the drinking water quality. So as we have discussed the drinking water quality, similarly we should also know about the NAAQS, that is National Ambient Air Quality Standards of 2009, which is very important. So here it is given for sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. We'll know for sulfur dioxide and all these gases, there are two things, that is one is concentration in ambient air for industrial, residential, rural and other areas, and other is for ecologically sensitive areas. So I'm reading out some of the important things. For sulfur dioxide, the limit that is given by the microgram per meter cube is the unit. For 24 hours and annual they are different. For annual, that is ecological sensitive area, it is 20. Similarly, for nitrogen dioxide annual, the limit is 30 microgram per meter cube. Similarly, for the particulate matter 10, that is PM10, the limit is 60 for the annual and 100 is for the 24 hours, that is the particulate matter microgram per meter cube. And for particulate matter 2.5, it is slightly less, that is for annual it is 40 in both the cases, and for 24 hour it is 60. So you should download this also, that is National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So as we have discussed about water and air, now we should know about the standards for the noise. Yes, noise standard is given by the Noise Pollution Regulation and Control Rule 2000 under this provision of Environmental Protection Act 1986. For industrial area, the noise limit for the daytime is 75 decibel, whereas in the night time it is 70 decibel. Similarly, for commercial area it is 65 in day, 55 in night. Residential area is 55 in day, 45 during night. And for silence zone, the limit is 50 decibel during daytime and 40 decibel during night time. So it is also important, they can ask from these questions. Next thing which you should remember is the water quality parameter. So these are the basic thing you should remember. What is DO, what is BOD, what is COD, all these things you should remember their definition. And coliform test, that is the test to total coliform bacteria, is a primary indicator of potability or suitability of drinking water. So you have to do this coliform test to know whether the water is suitable for drinking or not, and it measures the concentration of total coliform bacteria associated with the possible presence of disease causing organism. So you'll know here there are two kinds of thing, that is total coliform. It considers total environmental contamination. That means fecal contamination, that is fecal coliform means fecal coliform plus E. coli. As you can see, these are the two subset. Fecal coliform plus E. coli makes the total fecal coliform count, but total coliform includes overall environmental contamination, including the fecal coliform, E. coli, as well as any other contamination which is environmental. So I have made 4 videos related to the monitoring and testing of the water, soil and air. So you can check the link given in the description below. This playlist is available. So here you also should remember what is eutrophication, what is biomagnification. These are the simple things. I'm not going to discuss all these things. Along with, you should know what are algal bloom and all. So three things: eutrophication, nitrogen phosphorus enhancement, biomagnification, algal bloom also you should remember. The next important thing is global warming. Yes, you should know what are greenhouse gases, what is greenhouse effect, and global warming potential. So I have mentioned some of the important greenhouse gas along with the global warming potential. So carbon dioxide, which is the standard, is having 1, that is global warming potential of carbon dioxide. Methane is having the global warming potential of 21 to 25, so usually it will be 25. Next is nitrous oxide, that is N2O, is 298 to 310. Sulfur hexafluoride SF6 is having the GWP of 22,800 to 23,900. Similarly, HFCs are having global warming potential from 77 to 14,800, and the perfluorocarbons, their PFCs, are having the global warming potential of 6500 to 12,1200. So they are dimensionless because they can vary from 50 years calculation or 100 years or 25 years. So you can see, but these are the important global warming potentials. Next important point I would like to say is that the important themes for the environment related days. So I will tell you the what are important. You can pause the video and see this clip. So I will tell you the World Wetland Day is celebrated on 2nd February. The theme was wetlands and biodiversity. Similarly, the World Wildlife Day is celebrated on 3rd March. The theme was sustaining all life on earth. World Water Day is celebrated on 22nd March. Theme was for 2020 water and climate change. World Meteorological Day is celebrated on 23rd March. The theme was climate and water. Similarly, Earth Day is celebrated on 22nd April with the theme of climate action for 2020. World Biodiversity Day is celebrated on 22nd May with the theme Our Solutions Are in Nature. And Environment Day 5th June is celebrated, and two themes are there for this year: biodiversity or time for nature. So you should go for time for nature. Next, move on to the next clip to know more important days. So here we can see all the important days I have listed. You can pause the video and go through all these. Next things which we are going to discuss is about the laboratory practices. That means, what is GLP? You should know what is GLP. GLP means good laboratory practice. So here it is the framework or pattern under which the research work are planned, performed, monitored, recorded, reported, and archived. Similarly, question is define what is adequate. So adequate is the known amount of homogeneous material used to minimize the sampling error. It is usually used when fractional part is an exact divisor of the whole. Next question can be what is supernatant. So it is related to centrifugation. When sample is rotated into centrifuge, it will separate the mixture according to the density. Supernatant is the upper layer found in the sample after it is run into centrifuge. As you can see in the picture, when the centrifugation takes place, sediment settle down, and the supernatant, which is above the sediment, is called as the supernatant part, which is important for the analysis. Next, we will see some of the more laboratorical question, that is, what are the different sterilization method used in laboratory. So I have mentioned point wise. You can pause the video and see all these things. These are mainly dry heat method, wet heat method, filtration method, radiation method, as well as solvent method for the sterilization in laboratory. Next question are what are the different techniques for placing the samples in microscope. So you have to analyze if any sample is taken from the soil or water, then what are the different techniques. The technique name you should remember. There are certain simple names: dry mount, wet mount technique, smear slides technique, squash slides technique, and staining technique. Next is what is the difference between sterilization and disinfection. So these are very similar kind of, but they are having certain difference. The sterilization means the thorough sterilization of all microbes present on the surgical instrument is referred to as sterilization. Next, disinfection means reducing the total number of microbes below the risk level, that is called as disinfection. So this is the difference between sterilization and disinfection. Next thing which you should remember is what are the air pollutants monitoring techniques. What are the names of the air pollutant monitoring techniques? I will tell you. For monitoring the sulfur dioxide, the technique mostly used is the West Kick technique or UV fluorescence technique. Similarly, for the NOx, that is oxides of nitrogen, Jacob and Hockager method or sodium arsenide method along with chemiluminescence method is used. For particulate matter 2.5 and 10, gravimetric method, and TEOM method is used, which is tapered elementary oscillatory microbalance method along with beta attenuation method. For ozone monitoring, UV photometric as well as chemiluminescence method is used. For lead analysis, atomic absorption spectrophotometry is used. For carbon monoxide, NDIR technique is used. For methane, chemiluminescence along with indophenol blue technique is used. And similarly, for benzene, that is GC based technique is used. Benzoapyrene, solvent extraction followed by HPLC, that is high performance liquid chromatography, and gaseous chromatography technique is used. For arsenic and nickel in air, atomic absorption spectrophotometry is used. So these are also important, you should note it down. So the next thing which you should remember is the sewage treatment. Yes, sewage treatment is done by TNPCB throughout the Tamil Nadu. So you should know what are the primary treatment method, what are secondary treatment method, and what are tertiary treatment methods. So I'm not telling all these things because it will take the video too long. And you should also know what are trickling filters, and also all these things you should know the basics, no need to go for the deep. So you can check the videos in YouTube, there are several YouTube video present. So these are also important. So I hope this will help you in your interview. If you like this video, do share it with your friends and subscribe the channel to get further updates. All the best for the interview.